Oh no! They don't get it. It's okay. We get it.
I was like, yes, Lord, come on with the cancellations.
Ooh, we going in it. Now just kidding.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm black. Am I good?
He's with the best of them, and he's one of my favorite men to emphasize.
that entrance sounds like much more than who I actually am.
Hey y'all, today is the season 2 finale of the Level Up with Coach K podcast. On this episode, I'm sitting down with the Blacks. They are co-authors of the book Redefining Normal. They are co-founders of Redefining Normal Company, and they own many other things. Alexis Black is a recent graduate from WMU with dual degrees in entrepreneurship and global and international studies with minors in nonprofit leadership and political science. Alexis is a serial entrepreneur, best-selling author, and speaker. Alexis published a best-selling book titled Redefining Normal: How Two Foster Kids Beat the Odds and Discovered Healing, Happiness, and Love with her husband, Justin Black. Now she operates 3 companies: Redefining Normal, Rose, Rising Above Societal Expectations, Empowerment Group, and The Scholarship Expert. She hopes to encourage others to heal while breaking generational patterns to live a life worth living. Now, Justin Black is a recent graduate of Western Michigan University as well, where he studied public relations and African studies. He started Rising Over Societal Expectation, Rose Empowerment Group, with a vision to close the information gap for today's generation of Black and Brown youth after his experience as a Black male in the foster care system. He has also developed policy recommendations while working with the National Black Child Development Institute, resulting in a publication titled The State of the Black Child Report Card, Washington State. Justin studied urban and community development as well as political and economic philosophy in countries such as Rwanda, Uganda, Senegal, and South Korea. He aspires to challenge and expand the ideologies of how to build prosperous communities through interdependence and entrepreneurship. Today, my guests of honor are Alexis and Justin Black. Well, I am here with the Blacks, Mr. Justin and Alexis Black. How are y'all doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Happy to be on here. Happy to be on the podcast and be able to talk to you today.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
No problem at all. Tell me how quarantine has been going for y'all.
I mean, it don't feel like we're in quarantine no more. We're moving around a lot. Of course, we protecting ourselves, doing what we can. We actually just got vaccinated yesterday, so that was cool. But yeah, it don't feel like we quarantining anymore. I remember last year, I feel like we barely leave the house. We feel like there was zombies outside. Nobody wants to leave. Everybody was scared. So it don't feel like it's quarantine. It's locked down this much right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wish Texas was a little bit more locked down because we didn't. It just seems like it never closed. So yeah,
man, yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, those southern states they're different, but I'm not gonna lie. I can't wait to visit Texas. That's really on my list to come down there and visit y'all.
Mm-hmm. Y'all come on down. I think y'all love it. I want to come up there too, but I think y'all love it down here.
I gotta get my barbecue and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've been to Austin and I loved it. I can't wait to go back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you went to the best place too, Austin, and a lot of people come to Dallas, Austin, and Houston. So
okay, yep.
And I'm from Fort Worth, so Dallas is right there. DFW is right in my area.
There you go.
Y'all tell me a little bit about your background and like how you've come to this point. Like, tell me a little bit about your background.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, first and foremost, I'll say how we met. You know, it's 2 people on here. People right now asking, like, who are y'all? Why are both of y'all on here? So, we are a married couple. Again, my name is Justin Black. This is my wife, Alexis Black. And we met actually in college. I was a freshman. She was a junior. And we met during this program called the Seed of Scholars Program. And this is a program for foster youth in higher education, since both of us are foster care alumni. So we met during this program for foster youth and higher education. It was actually before the semester even started. So I technically was like I was a freshman, but not even really. I had a prom like a month or 2 before. So I was on my way into college. It was like over the summer in July. and they was kind of preparing us for college, showing us where our classes are. The program provided campus coaches to help us kind of transition into adulthood and navigate college and everything. And that's where I met my wife. And I'm fast forwarding to the wife part, but back then, back then I was just some little boy trying to flirt. So
I read that in the book a little bit. I was laughing. I was like, I gotta ask him about that.
Yep.
yeah.
What about you, Miss Lexi?
Yeah, so I guess we should start kind of, from our journey a little bit. So, as you know, both of us came through the foster care system, and we both went through a lot of traumas and tribulations and a bunch of other stuff, that we had to sort of overcome to get to where we are now.
Uh-huh.
And we both, went through our fair share of that, as you can see in our book, Redefining
Yeah.
Normal, and you can see it on our shirts. But
Mhm.
but yeah, so we had to go through a lot of stuff to kind of get to where we are, and we both went through our own journey of sort of unlearning and relearning healthy patterns and a bunch of things like that in order to develop healthier habits and patterns and all those sorts of things so that we could come together and have a healthy relationship. Even though in the beginning it was a bit rocky because we were bringing some of that trauma and things into the
Exactly, yeah.
relationship. And so it's just a lot of navigation and relearning through our networks and a lot of blogs and counseling and
Yeah.
we're trying to just take all the information we can get.
Yeah, all the unlearning and relearning you've had to go through. It was a lot.
Y'all did the work though, so that it's
Still
worth
doing
it
the
when you
work.
do the work. Yes,
It never ends. Never
stops.
ends
It
the
never
process.
stops. Yeah, and that's anything with a person that's single or in a relationship. You have to do the work so you can keep growing and evolving. The one thing that I love about y'all is the fact that you did put it in book form and you're using your story to help people, help them navigate as well. So tell me
Exactly.
about redefining normal. Like, explain to them what the book. Well, you kind of already told us what the book is about, but tell me what your why is with this book.
No, I mean we explained a piece of it, but it's so much more of what the book is. So
Mhm.
redefining normal, these t-shirts, the book, all this redefining normal talk, like what is it? A lot of people always think it's something like pandemic related, but really redefining normal redefining normal is founded on the concept of everybody has an idea of a normal. You have a normal, I have a normal, we all have an idea of a normal based on our influence from our family, community, and society. All these components of what they told us we should be shapes our identity. But what
Mhm.
happens when, this foundation and this normal doesn't come from a healthy perspective? It's not something that is conducive for your future. As you read and go through the book, you'll read that my normal consisted of two generations of drug abuse on my mom's side and three generations of domestic violence on my dad's side. And she
Mhm.
had generational patterns and things that she had to deal with her and her family as well. So we had to go through this process of seeing life of what it was given to us by our parents and family, of this idea of normal, which is unhealthy, toxic, and for myself dealing with a lot of mental health issues that were passed down to me generationally. But then we go through the process, like we said, of unlearning and relearning and changing our normal and the process of redefining our normal. And what we want people to really get from this book and our why is that we want each and every individual, family, community to be intentional and self-reflective on kind of the components that shape the culture of the family and community. What is the culture like, and is the culture conducive for the children and the generations to come? Is it something that will put them on the path of success or failure? And we have to be just intentional about the way we communicate, our mental health, the quality of relationships we're being a part of, the characteristics and the principles that determine our character and who we are ultimately. We have to figure out those things and be self-reflective in those ways, and that's what redefining normal basically is.
And we started the process actually of writing the book largely in part to people kind of speaking that into our lives of being authors and things like that. And I don't think that we would have been or gotten to where we are today without individuals in our network, specifically our pastors and our mentors who said, you guys should be authors. Where's that book
Yeah.
at? Where's that business at? And so just kind of planting that seed for us. And from that thought process, we're like, okay, well, if we're going to write a book, what's it going to be about? And Justin asked me, what do you talk about every day? And I said, relationships, because most of the people around me are in those unhealthy, toxic relationships and they don't even know it. And I was in an 8-year abusive relationship myself. And so I very much understand now like what are the red flags? What does it mean to be in a healthy relationship versus not? And so that's a conversation that we were trying to have. But then it turned into something a lot bigger than that, where it started into kind of a project for us to do together before we got married, because we wanted to get closer together. We had so many things kind of in front of us to kind of set us up for failure, like the divorce rate, then the fact that we have all this trauma, and being an interracial couples, like all these barriers sort of kind of set us up to fail. And so we're like, okay, how do we be proactive about this process? And so we started it through that lens. But then as we started writing, we're like, oh my goodness, this is so much bigger than us. And it's really about how are we going to impact other people? And that's why even our book is unique in a way that it's going between both of our narratives throughout the book. So it's sort of like a memoir and a nonfiction book together. So,
and I love that.
it's real different. I never read a book like that. So I'm proud of us, like that we thought of this and the way that we laid it out. So like the first half is more memoir, setting the foundation of who we are. And then the second half, where we get the turning point and breaking cycles, where it's really about how did we do that? How did we unlearn and relearn and go through that process to be able to come together? Because we wanted to show people that we had to go through individual journeys of healing and self-discovery before we could come together. And that's also a reason why we physically separated our chapters between each other.
Yeah, that was, I love that, the way that you structured that, because it makes it practical, you know, and it makes it applicable. So if someone was to read your book, they would know that it's like, okay, well, I'm going to look more on Justin's side because I may understand where he came from because I went through that, or for your side. And I loved how you did that. And you said something major, it's bigger than us. Like, we always think that when we're doing things that it's like our dreams, you know? And when you're going through it, you start to realize that it's so much bigger than you. And that's how you know you're working in God's purpose too. And it's when you know it's bigger than you.
One of our favorite sayings is really something that our pastors gave us, is that all our gifts and talents that are within us are really not even meant for us. They're meant for other people. So when we feel that people have like 10 books inside of them. So when they hold in those talents, those gifts and abilities, you're really being selfish, because there's so many people out there who need to hear your story, who need to receive your presence, receive like the things you have to offer the world, those books, those products, and so many other things that people need to receive. That if you hold that within yourself, you're being selfish. And one of our favorite quotes is that we're like trees that grow into like full trees and produce fruit. And our fruit is meant for the world to eat from. So we need to be productive and proactive about producing that fruit so the world can eat from our fruit and everything.
That's good. Like, I read the scripture. That's all right. I read this scripture every morning, Jeremiah 17:7-8. And it's basically saying the same thing you just said. It's like, you want to be a tree with deep roots that doesn't, like, you know, change whenever you hit a drought or have some type of time that you have to wait. Like, it's important to know that you are a tree and you're supposed to bear fruit, especially if you're a child of God. You're supposed to. So
I mean, God's first instructions to us was like, be fruitful and multiply. People think that it's just about having sex and kids and everything. But if you put that even in the individual sense, like God put a gift in all of us, and you can read that in scripture too, about God saying, I gave this one person 3 gifts, this person 2 gifts, and this person 1 gift. And the person who had the 1 gift, who buried it and didn't use it, he was punished. He was he was stripped of that gift, and he was punished. So God gave us those gifts and abilities. He gave us the ability to dominate and replenish the earth. And he told us to be fruitful and multiply. So if we're not being fruitful, if we're not multiplying, if we're not giving the world all of our gifts, our talents and abilities, then we're not doing God's purpose ultimately. And that's really what I feel like our goal is.
Absolutely. We can't hide those gifts. I heard you mention a little bit about your pastors and your mentors and things like that. So could y'all tell me what are 5 non-negotiables when it comes to the people that are in your circle, the people that you keep around you?
That's a great question.
We haven't been asked that. I love that.
I love that. And I think really like an exercise that we do in our presentations is for the youth to figure out 3 to 5 principles of what makes them who they are. And then to analyze the people that you surround yourself with, and do they fit those characteristics or those principles that you set for yourself. And if not, you should probably reassess, leave, set boundaries, whatever you need to do, cut ties, I don't know. And so I think for us, in the way that we sort of live our lives and the way that we see leadership, is being transparent, vulnerable, having integrity. And I would say most of the people we surround ourselves with have faith in whatever form it is. It doesn't mean that they have to be Christians, but you have faith that you believe in. There's hope there. What's another one?
I mean, I always try to surround myself with optimistic people. I think one of the things that we tell youth is to surround yourself with people who reflect who you are, but also be self-aware of your weaknesses and areas of growth, and surround yourself with people who will hold you accountable. So one thing I always try to do is I'm just being honest with myself. Sometimes I can be pessimistic about situations. I'm a huge snowball type of person, and I always give this example of when I was in college. If I failed an exam, like I'll be like, "Oh man, I failed an exam. I'm about to fail this class. I'm about to drop out of college. I'm about to be homeless," and it just all go downhill. But thankfully, I had mentors. I had Alexis. I had my campus coach who told me like, "Pump the brakes, calm down. It's one exam." They'll like kind of go through things detail by detail and say, all right, how much did you study for this? You need to take a different approach. And it just people to help me break things down. And so I think that's really what I try to do. Be aware of my areas of weakness and my areas of growth and try to see who feels that area of growth. So if I want to be more disciplined and consistent in my life, try to surround myself with people who are more disciplined and consistent so they can rub off on me. And one of Alexis' favorite quotes is that, you're an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So I try to surround myself with people who are disciplined and consistent, who I don't need all my friends and circle of people around me to be spiritual and be Christians, but I do have to have my spiritual OG, with me, whether it's a pastor or someone who has like a couple decades in the game of practicing true faith. And it's just things like that I need around me. People I think the biggest thing is people who have exercised their faith in a way that they can show me how to do the same.
Exactly. I can agree with all of that. Sometimes we do need people to peel those layers back because we're blinded, at times, especially when it's something you really want. If it's something that you're really striving towards, it causes you to be a little blinded at times. So it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you self-aware about that and you know that. So you got a partner that's gonna help you.
Yeah. She'll straighten me up in a second. Like for real, man. She be on me, I'm telling you.
That's a good thing though. That's good. Well, we talked a little bit about college. Could y'all tell me one thing that you would tell a incoming freshman? What is a piece of advice you would give them?
Oh, of course, manage your time. I mean, that's one of our biggest things. We do presentations on it. We have products like the Perfect College Student Planner. I mean, we talk about time management all the time. And I think that was the biggest thing that I suffered with in college. Because again, I entered my freshman year pretty much like the first couple months of my freshman year, I started my relationship with Alexis. So just to give you a little background, Alexis is like a super efficient person. Like she can be a part of 5 clubs, take 16 credits, and she'll study for an exam the day before and she'll get an A. And with me, I'm an incoming freshman trying to develop my habits, get into a routine of things, and I'm watching her and I'm like, oh, she could do that. I could do that too. So that's when I was failing those exams and I was falling apart and everything. So, I was watching her and trying to like have her the things that she practiced, implement that in my life, but I had to figure out my own routine. What's best for me, how do I study, and other things like that. So the real thing I had to get together is she helped me get a planner, and I had to organize my time and detail the specific things that I'm gonna do with my day, even down to, all right, I'm eating at this time between classes and I'm studying at this time after class. So really focus on time management and prioritize your time and be like, all right, this day is meant for this. Sunday nights are meant for laying out my week and my to-do list. So trying to organize in that way.
Yeah. For myself, I feel like my biggest piece of advice always, no matter what phase of life you're in, and especially like if you're transitioning into college, is to always get a mentor. That is like always my biggest thing. And you can have multiple mentors. You can have mentors in different seasons of life. You can have mentors around, academically in your career, personal mentors, which can help you with like personal development and growth and hold you accountable with different things. And so I know probably any given day we have 5 mentors, that we're constantly trying to surround ourselves with because we're always trying to learn and grow. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to have multiple, but it's seeking out those resources and advocating for yourself and meeting individuals that have the skills or abilities that you're looking for, and how can they get you there, and just learn from them. And these are great connections that you can also leverage moving forward. Like, we wouldn't have been as successful as we are with our book and selling over 5,000 copies and all these things, like, if we didn't have that network that we've accumulated throughout the years, because we've nourished that. And so as you nourish those relationships, the mentors are so critical.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you said something very key, self-advocate.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of students tend to think that life is going to come to them, and that is not the case at
It's
all.
not
Life
gonna
is
happen.
going to hit you and leave you laying on that ground if you don't,
Yep.
prepare for the moment. So I definitely agree with all of that. And having mentors is definitely major key. They have
Mhm.
wisdom that you haven't touched yet. So what's
I
the cat's
agree.
name?
Leia, and she just, every time we get on a call, she
I
has to get on here. I don't find her in the house all day. And then the second I get on a call, here she is.
She said, it's time for my close-up.
she's like she's a diva, man. Like,
She is. She's like a toddler. We got like a whole bed back here for her because she screams the whole time. Anyway.
That's all right. She said she getting in this camera. Y'all not gonna stop for today.
For real.
Do me a favor really quick and plug your planner one more time. Say that real quick.
oh
Yep,
yeah, of
we
course.
got it right here too. It's called the Perfect College Student Planner. Here it is. We made it from scratch.
Made for students, by students, and it includes a daily to-do list, quotes on every week, and it's detailed from 7 a.m. to midnight. We shouldn't be staying up to midnight, but it's
This
hour
college,
by
you know
hour.
they're gonna stay up.
Yeah, I mean it's like that sometimes. Some seasons of life are like that, but it's detailed from 7 a.m. to midnight, and it's something that we needed throughout college. So we didn't have that in college, like a planner this detailed. So we wanted to make that for other students to take advantage of.
Yeah, it's available on our website, thescholarshipexpert.com.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Had to make sure y'all plug that real quick.
Thank you.
No problem at all. It's about that too. You want to make sure you get everything out there. So, tell me a little bit about what else you're working on. Like, what's coming up next?
A lot.
Yeah. Who's not working on?
I know. Like, we just launched our podcast, which you can see it right there, the Rose from Concrete podcast. We have a workbook that's more of a companion guide for the book Redefining Normal, and we have our audiobook coming out.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot all at once. It feels like it's all at once.
Yeah.
But it's all good stuff. We got new merchandise coming out. Like, we have our shirts and everything on our website at redefiningnormal.com, and just constantly thinking of, new products and services that we can support other people. We do a lot of presentations, speaking engagements, keynotes, stuff like that. So really just finding every way that we can to serve and support others.
Yeah, I mean, we've done really what I think what a lot of entrepreneurs don't really think about is just doing presentations around your product. This Perfect College Student Planner, the Redefining Normal Book, we've done so many presentations that tailor on those products to where we've found book clubs, and then we will kind of walk you through the process of, okay, you've read a quarter of the book, so let's do a presentation on self-love, self-care, and other things like that. You've read like halfway through the book. Let's do a presentation around the circle around you and how your community and family have an influence on you, and redefining your community and redefining what family means. So many presentations like that with universities, faculty from elementary to high school, foster care organizations and foster care youth. I mean, you name the population, everybody needs a normal to redefine in some area of your life. So we've done presentations for so many different groups and really communities.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're definitely working your product and getting it into the hands of the people who need it the most. So it's always good to speak on behalf of your product, because if you don't, no one else will. So that's really good. I'm glad that you're not afraid to promote it either, because for some reason, some entrepreneurs are afraid to promote their product as if it's a issue. I'm like, well, don't be sitting there if you don't promote it.
Well, look at every other product that we're out here buying and consuming off social media and all that stuff. These people have no problem pushing it in your face all day. So you have to do the same.
Branding is important.
Yes.
I mean, I would just speak to sometimes. I mean, I feel a little weird trying to promote my product because it's like, I mean, I do want to serve, and I feel like all my products are helping serve you in one way or another. But
Yeah,
a lot of people, I don't know what it is about this world where they'll pay for something. We will all buy a book. We'll all buy a planner. We'll all buy, I don't know, whatever service or product there is. But when they see you trying to sell your product, they think, oh, you're just trying to make some money. You're trying to just get a dollar. But it's like you had no problem spending money with so many other businesses or other people. But I don't
yeah,
know if it's that you just know me, you see me, that I'm not worthy of getting your money. And like you would think that you know who you're spending your money with. So you would think that, okay, I trust this person and I believe in this person. I want to put my dollar with them. But instead, it just gets weird where, people just think you're up and just trying to get money. But really, I feel like this could be mutually beneficial. So that's what I'll say. I
exactly.
think why people are scared to promote their products sometimes.
Mhm.
I can understand that, but it's like I had to talk to myself about that sometimes because the people closest to you sometimes tend to keep that mindset of what they saw you as before. So they don't
Mhm.
honestly see the vision like you see it. So I had to keep telling myself that they don't know the vision that God gave me, and as long as I'm being obedient to his word and what he told me to do, if they don't support, that's okay because there's a whole tribe of people who will support, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, you just have to keep it moving and be like, hey, I'm gonna
Mhm.
do me,
But
and that's just what
that's
it's
when you
gonna
might
be.
need new friends. I don't know. You might need a new tribe because
Yeah,
really the people around you, they should be the ones that's willing to buy from you, that's willing to
exactly.
support you, push it out to other people. And I've had to cut off so many people, like the ones that say, why are you doing this and this without me? And you're changed. Why are you changing? It's like, why are
You're
you the
supposed
same?
to.
It's like, why are you the same?
It's strange.
And so, that's when you have to have those really clear boundaries and those definitions of, family and community, your network, your tribe of people that you want around you. Like you have to really define what that is and those
Yeah.
principles that we talked about, of who makes that up. That's
Absolutely.
really that can dictate your success in a lot of ways. And
Yes, it
that can
can.
be dangerous if you're not careful.
You
Mhm.
gotta carve it off. Will you tell everyone what you got your degrees in really quick?
Yeah, of course. I mean, she let me go first because she got like a million degrees. But
Not
yeah.
true.
So we both graduated from Western Michigan. I graduated with a BA in Public Relations and African Studies, and I have to also add on. She encouraged me to do study abroad, so I have 5 study abroad programs under my belt with one that we created together. So yeah.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, and so I have a, BBA in entrepreneurship, a BA in global international studies, a certificate in nonprofit leadership, a minor in political science, and I studied abroad 8 times.
Wow. Th- Look, between the two of y'all, look, amazing. Tell
God
me,
said, the world is at our possession. So hey.
Yeah, I got that tattoo right there too.
I love that because some people feel like they can't leave. So I love that y'all were willing to go expand and see because exposure leads to expansion. So
Mhm.
That's why
that's
we're able to do so much of what we're able to do, and you can
Yeah.
see that in our book in the chapter "City Kids Traveling the Globe."
hmm
And I almost broke up with Justin because he didn't want to travel, and I'm like, no,
you gotta go.
like that wasn't gonna work for me. I went through that abusive relationship, and I set expectations now. Like I didn't have expectations then, but I have expectations now. And I was like,
hmm
oh, I need somebody that would travel and explore and do new things with me. And then he got the travel bug, and look where he's at now.
Yeah.
Can y'all tell me one thing that you learned about yourself from traveling? Like what did it teach you about you?
Oh man,
It's a good question.
it's so much. I feel like
Oh, you
so,
should tell about the Korea story.
the Korea story.
Yeah.
So my first time. I mean, this actually wasn't my first time traveling out. We did the Europe trip before, but
No, by yourself though.
but this is my first time like on the plane out of the country by myself.
Hmm.
So I mean, I will admit sometimes like I have issues with the details. So I was flying to South Korea for a study abroad, and we were going together, but we were flying separate because she was actually in Italy doing a study abroad as well.
But I was technically in Norway at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was going to South Korea, and I didn't see that I had a 13-hour layover in Shanghai, China,
Oh,
and it was in a different airport in China. So I'm like, I land in Shanghai, and then I'm confused, like, bro, why am I not in South Korea? So I'm I'm there, and I'm lost. I'm the lost American, and I'm black
Oh.
too. So I'm like, I don't really know, like, I don't know how they welcome us over here. So I'm nervous. I'm scared. And then, I text Alexis where my hotel's gonna be just in case I don't know, something happened to me. And then yeah, I detail that whole story in the book and everything I was going through. It's a funny experience. It's my favorite chapter in the book. But really, I think that moment really taught me a couple things. That first, I mean, one quick lesson just with being black outside the country. First thing I noticed, and I may do a podcast about this and talk more about it, but I've noticed that you're treated a lot of times better outside the country than you are in this country. Because if you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, in this country, you're seen as black, you're seen as inferior. But outside the country, you're seen as, oh, if I do something, if somebody in that country does something to you, then you're seen as an American tourist. And then there is the idea of, oh, American tourists can't go here, so they'll lose their money. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
police and people outside the country want to protect you more. That's just a small thing that I've noticed. But
That's
on the
interesting.
flip side, a good thing that I've noticed is that just the ability to adapt and be flexible.
Mhm.
Not that we've learned that in foster care also, but just the ability to go to a country, you have minimum plans, but you just figure it out when you get there. And that experience of being lost in the airport kind of helped me out. You don't need to have everything planned out, which I should have in that instance. But we don't always need to have everything planned out once we go to another country. We just kind of figure it out as we go along, and then we just enjoy the presence and enjoy the small things of just the air, just the people, just the food, and the small things. Like being outside the country really helped me enjoy so much of the small things in life that so many people don't get to travel to over 30 different countries.
Yeah.
And that was just a blessing for me. So I learned to enjoy those small things.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
he actually got to Korea, like his phone wasn't working, and he was out exploring and walking around and stuff. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked. So I was like, I don't know if I would have did that. But for myself, I would say like the general biggest thing I think I learned from studying abroad, or the most impactful thing for me is learning how we're all interconnected as global citizens, and how
Yeah.
my actions in the US or wherever I'm at in the world can directly affect somebody across the planet. And that was shocking to me. And knowing that and seeing that made me much more mindful of my actions, my decisions, my purchasing power. What am I my decision? What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like all like in every aspect. I have an impact. And so I think that's definitely had a huge impact on the way I lead my life.
Mhm.
Yeah. I will say traveling will definitely teach you a lot about yourself because you are exposed to so many different things. And you realize how fortunate you are as well. Like
Mhm.
being in certain places,
Yeah.
So I'm glad that y'all got bit by the travel bug and that you
Mhm.
pushed him to go outside his comfort zone and
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
something. That
And
poor baby
now
was
all we talk
lost.
about is being abroad. We're like, when can we go abroad again?
But like, can we live over here for a little while?
I know.
I'm trying to build my businesses to be work from anywhere businesses so I can be anywhere.
Definitely.
For real,
That is
I'm
the
telling you.
goal. That is the
Yep,
goal.
do it.
Um, tell me a little bit about Rose Concrete Empowerment Group.
So there is the Rose Empowerment Group, and there underneath part of the Rose Empowerment Group is the Rose from Concrete podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rose Empowerment Group has three components, which is related to the podcast what we discussed. So with those three components, there is myself uh, talking about individual character development, setting goals for individuals. Secondly, is my community, kind of the healthy relationship between family, romantic, and so many other things that go into relationships like communications, understanding mental health, and also the group economics piece of things. So where we can come together and utilize our resources as human resources. And lastly is my impact. So the impact that each family, individual have on an environment, and thinking about some of those systemic things that are in our communities that's holding us down, but
Mm-hmm.
offset that with different programs, initiatives, and businesses that will help grow our community and our environment.
And the Rose from Concrete is the podcast where It's mainly Justin. I get on there sometimes. Oh, I will get on there sometimes.
I'm trying to pull her on. It's hard.
And so it's really just discussing a lot of the topics that we talk about in the book that we very much feel that are important, and we need to continue those conversations.
Mhm.
And we can't always continue the conversations in presentations, and we try to think of how can we spread that knowledge and things that we've learned to more people, because we really feel it's a duty of ours to spread that knowledge, and that's part of that third pillar, which is legacy building. And how can we do that for ourselves and other people?
Mhm.
And ROSE actually stands for Rising Over Societal Expectations.
Mhm.
And what's crazy is that we created the podcast, ROSE Empowerment Group, Redefining Normal, wrote our book, got married, he graduated, and bought our house all last year.
All during the pandemic.
All during the pandemic.
It's crazy.
It doesn't matter what's going on. When it's your time, it's your time.
I'm telling you.
I mean,
lock us up and see what happens.
Yeah,
see what we create.
Yeah.
Our strongest soldiers great when the world is seemingly falling apart. So I mean, it was a blessing for us to be in a position that we were in, to have family. Her parents supported me during that time. You know, it was just a huge blessing of mine to be able to live with her parents for that 8 or 9 months while we create businesses and everything. They could have said, "Oh, y'all trying to be entrepreneurs, y'all need to go get a real job. I'm trying to kick y'all out." But I mean, they were really loving and supportive and helped us create those, or gave us space and opportunity to create. And next thing you know, we got our own house. We're supporting ourselves, and it really takes that community to get you on your feet. Because without that aspect of community, I don't think I'll be where I am today in this house.
We wouldn't be in the house. We wouldn't have the book.
But thanks, parents. Thank you, parents.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So honestly, we hoping for with our next book. It was easy or our last book. It was easy to write because we were on lockdown and everything, and the world was shut down. So it was easy for us to just go head down, focus on our book. So we hoping for another pandemic or a lockdown so we can write our next book, because we don't know what we gonna do.
Pandemic part 2.
We don't know we don't know how we gonna write our next book. We don't know how we got time with
you
all
got
these
to take
businesses and
advantage
everything.
you got to take advantage of speaking it into your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're super busy, you got to take advantage of that process.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll help.
That will help you right in the way. Well, I haven't done it yet like that, but I've heard a lot of people do it that way, so you can sit down and get it scripted and everything.
That's what my does. That's how she writes all her books. She's driving, she gets taught, writing her phone.
I've written school papers on. I just because you got all these ideas and things in your head, and I'm like, oh, I really got to write this out. So I just record it on my phone, like word to text, and then I'll change it or get the errors and everything together later. So I wrote papers like that.
Yep. Look, tell me what has entrepreneurship taught you?
I think I don't know. I think one of the biggest things entrepreneurship has taught me is how you really have to rely on other people for your success. And a lot of people think that they're self-made or they figured out themselves, but nobody's self-made.
Nobody.
You have to rely on other people. And I think we talk about this also in the book, that was honestly one of the most difficult things for us. And I think for foster youth, it just is inherently difficult, where you learn to be so independent, hyper independent, and you rely on yourselves. You can't rely on anybody else. Everybody hurts you, deceives you, whatever it is. And it's but for all those people that have hurt you, there's the same amount or more that are willing to be in your corner and support you. And because we really nourish those relationships through college, and even for me, some from middle school, I'm really out here trying to continue to maintain those relationships with good people. And that's really how we got to where we are today, is because of those maintained relationships. And so building your network is honestly the most fundamental thing for your business. As you'll see going forward, email lists and all that type of stuff that's not fun.
Oh my gosh.
But really, how we have to, rely on other people. It is what it is. That's really what you have to do as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I would say for me, the one thing that I learned as an entrepreneur is that you never really stop learning. At a job, there's usually a cap where, okay, it gets repetitive, or this is your responsibility. This is what you do. You do that every single day. And not that entrepreneurship doesn't get repetitive, but it's so many aspects of things to where, okay, now you created a website. Maybe you want to create it yourself. You got to outsource that. You got to learn how to budget and reinvest. And there's so many things that you have to continue to learn with communications, marketing, social media, how to use different social media platforms, how to interact with different people. It's so many different components and layers that you need to learn to understand it. Really, you never stop learning. And that was one of the biggest things that entrepreneurship taught me. You never stop learning.
Yeah.
And that could be like a huge opportunity with the just owning your own business, reading books. So you have to continue to read books, listen to podcasts, and try to learn from other people. But another thing is that everybody has a different pathway. That's what's kind of I would
Yep.
say it's kind of difficult about business ownership and entrepreneurship is that you listen to a lot of other people's pathways and what they're doing in their life, and it's difficult because you can take bits and pieces from other people, but you have your own route and you can look up to other people, but really it's just all about you doing something unique in your space that nobody's ever done before. So you really are just taking that risk in your space. So we're more in like the social impact or world where we're not just selling like something that is just you know social impact is a huge part of our business and what we do, and we're learning about that all the time because we don't know how many people are really in our space where maybe they turn books into businesses and they're doing speaking engagements, and we're trying to have this entire brand of redefining normal. Like, what does this brand even mean? And we've heard of individual speakers like a Josh Shipp or like Eric Thomas or something like that, but like, what about this brand? Like, how do we push this brand of redefining normal forward and transform it and have it evolve?
Yeah. I mean, it is a lesson in itself, and you will learn many lessons in entrepreneurship, but y'all are doing a great job. So just keep on doing what you've been doing and stay true to your lane. A lot of people do try to adopt what other people do, but honestly, sometimes that won't work for everyone because it's not meant for you to do it. So I'm glad that you said that. So where do y'all see yourself in the future? What do you think is next?
Well, first I want to get out this workbook and the audiobook. But we're applying to grad schools next year, so that's potentially in the future. We're both applying for MBA programs to continue learning. This is always a learning opportunity. So how can we really just continue building and growing and creating that network, which is super important that I just talked about. But so I would say like grad school, and just continuing building our companies. And this is how much we've created and built in 1 year. So and we weren't anticipating any of this stuff in 2019. So who knows what next year or within 5 years is going to hold. It's hard to make that sort of plan because we're just constantly thinking, how can we be innovative every single day? And every single day is different. And like even collaborations come up where we didn't even expect it. People reaching out to us, and even our biggest partnerships, collaborations, and even presentations and things, they've all come to us. We haven't come to them. And so it's, I just feel, highly blessed that that's a part of it. But it's just continue really doing the work that we're doing right now and seeing where that leads us.
Okay.
You heard the saying, God, we man make plans, but God laughs at it. So
that's
we
true.
Follow God, really. That's
absolutely true. And my last question is, if you knew then what you know now, would you change anything?
Yeah, maybe.
I think I'm wondering if I would have maybe, I don't know, not cared about certain things that I cared about in college and focus more on like developing healthier habits like that I'm trying to develop now, which is really, 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 really difficult. Like trying to own and operate several companies and trying to develop those like healthy habits right now. It's really hard. And I really wish that I could have developed those a bit more in college rather than now. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Outside of that, like I don't know if I would change anything. Like I'm super proud of us and what we're doing, and we have a team of 13 interns since October. So that goes into us trying to pass down that knowledge that we've learned onto other people and building up that foundation. And so I don't know if I would really change anything.
Yeah. For me, I would. I don't know. It's kind of difficult, but I don't want to give you the cookie cutter. I have no regrets.
But if it's true, it's okay.
It is. I wish. one of the things in the book that we detail is our mistakes and our shortcomings, where we've gone wrong, and even where we've hurt other people. Like, I'm open and honest about where I've hurt other people, where I could have done things better in my life, and I wish I didn't have to do that to get to this point. But I see it in a way that everything comes full circle, because during these presentations where I'm open and honest and transparent with people about my experiences, people don't expect that. Like, wow, he's really talking about that. And people read the book and say, yeah, at these moments in time, we didn't really like you. When we read about these parts or these things in the book, and to be honest with you, I didn't really like myself at those times. But I see it now as a way of sharing my story, telling my testimony, and really inspire other young men, other Black people, other people who've gone through the foster care system, to really say, like, okay, this is what I've experienced. And even though society may say you should be ashamed, you should, cancel for the rest of your life because of a mistake or something you've done wrong, I'm open and honest about it and saying, like, listen, this is who society says you should be. This is the mistakes you've made, but this is how you can learn from it. So, and on one hand, I wish I could have done things better. On the other hand, I use those mistakes to teach other people. So,
well, actually, one thing I was thinking is, I think I would stop trying to stretch myself too thin all the time.
yes.
And we both
learn
do
to
that.
say no. Learn to say no.
That is a huge problem. Of, like, I don't know if it's overcompensating or if we're just, I don't know why we do it, and we're constantly like stressed out and overwhelmed. Whereas I work better under pressure and like sort of stressed out, but I have a peak where it's like if I reset, I shut down. I'm like, I'm done for the day. Like, I can't process anything else. And lately, it's gotten to that point a couple more times than I'm used to. But I think for the both of us, it's working on a better balance. I would definitely say that.
Yeah, I mean, life is all about balance. So any way we can learn more balance, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something you definitely will need as an entrepreneur. You got to say no to a couple of things. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm extremely proud of both of you. I know that a lot of people are going to be impacted by your work, your passion work, and just like by your life in general. So I thank y'all so much for coming on the show and like sharing and giving all the insight that you've given. And I pray that y'all have nothing but greatness, more greatness coming your way. Y'all have done a lot, and I'm very proud of y'all.
We're proud of you too. Look at what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is just an amazing platform. So thank you for bringing us on. And we just can't thank you enough for all your love and support, just having us on here to talk and share our story. That means a lot.
No problem at all. In my Chick-fil-A voice, my pleasure. Well, y'all have a good one, and I will talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.